Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yep.
Today we're going to tackle something super practical.
Yeah.
It's all about how to handle yourself like a pro in English when you're at the shopping mall.
That's right.
You know, it's more than just hello and thank you.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about really mastering those conversations so you feel comfortable and confident no matter what comes up.
Absolutely.
And to get there, we found a really interesting resource.
Oh, yeah.
It's a podcast episode that's laser focused on just this navigating English in the mall setting, and we're going to break it all down.
That's great.
But close your eyes for a sec and just imagine yourself walking into, one of those massive shopping malls, maybe even a brand new one you've never been to before.
Right.
What are some of those first things you'd need to do or say? Maybe finding a specific store you're looking for. Or maybe you just suddenly realize you're starving and need to find the food court fast.
Right.
Or, hey, even just getting your bearings, figuring out where you are in this massive complex.
Yes.
That's the kind of practical stuff we're diving into today.
Awesome.
And a perfect place to begin is right at the start with navigation.
Of course.
Because in a huge mall, just finding your way around can be a little bit daunting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're on a mission to find a particular store.
Okay.
The podcast had a couple of really helpful phrases for this.
Okay.
You could go with a very direct, excuse me, where's the store, name store.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're not looking for something specific, but just a general area, you could ask, could you tell me where the food court is?
That's good.
And remember, those are just starting points.
Uh-huh.
You can adapt them a bit depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
Like the source material mentioned, if you're asking a security guard or maybe someone who works at a mall kiosk, you might say, excuse me, can you help me find the clothing section?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of naming a specific store.
Makes sense.
And I actually had this nice little example dialogue to illustrate this.
Okay.
So we'll run through that. All right, so picture this, our dear listener. You're playing the part of Shiv,
All right.
and you walk up to someone who looks like they might know their way around, and you say, excuse me, can you tell me where Zara is?
Okay.
And the staff member replies, yes, sir. Take the escalator to the first floor. It's on your right.
Mm-hmm.
And then to wrap it up politely, thank you.
Nice.
So what stood out to me there
Uh-huh.
is how powerful that simple, excuse me, is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this instant, polite way to signal that, hey, I need your help for a second.
That's true.
And, even if you're feeling a little unsure of yourself inside,
Mm-hmm.
speaking clearly like that, even if you're a little slow, helps the other person really understand.
Right.
All right, so success. You've located the store you were searching for.
Okay.
Now it's time for the fun part.
The shopping.
The shopping, exactly.
Yes.
Interacting with the people who work there.
Mm-hmm.
Finding out about prices and maybe even snagging some deals.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you ask about prices? Well, the podcast gave us a few solid options.
Okay.
The direct approach would be, excuse me, how much does this dress cost?
Mm-hmm.
Or a shorter version, what's the price of this?
Mm-hmm.
And here's my personal favorite. Is this on sale?
Gotta ask.
Always got to ask, right? You never know.
Plain or hurts.
And it shows you're thinking ahead.
Sure, yeah.
You're not just accepting the first price you see. You're looking for a good deal.
Right.
And speaking of good deals,
Yeah.
the podcast had this great little scenario with Prabha.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
So you're Prabha this time,
Yeah.
and you see a shirt you like, and you ask the salesperson, excuse me, how much does this shirt cost?
Okay.
Salesperson says, it's 2,499 rupees, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes the smart move. Oh, do you have any discounts or offers?
Nice.
And the salesperson replies, yes, if you buy two, you get one free.
Whoa, that's a deal.
Right. See how that simple question opened up a whole new possibility?
You wouldn't have known.
Exactly. Just by asking you, unlock those hidden savings.
It's true.
Okay. So that brings us to a topic that can feel a little tricky.
Okay.
Bargaining.
Ah.
Asking for discounts.
Right.
Now, I know this isn't something you do everywhere. Like
Mhm.
you probably wouldn't try to haggle at a big department store.
Right.
But in those smaller independent shops or maybe those market areas within the mall,
Yeah.
it's definitely a skill worth having.
Okay.
So how do you approach this?
Yeah.
The podcast had a few suggestions.
Okay.
One is just be straightforward and polite. Can you give me a better price?
Mm.
Or is there any discount on this?
Simple.
And they also mentioned a tactic that some people use.
Oh, yeah.
If you've seen the item cheaper online,
Yeah.
you could actually mention that.
Oh, interesting.
Like you could say, I saw this for a lower price online. Can you match the price?
That's smart.
It gives them a reason. It's not just you trying to haggle.
Right.
It's based on something concrete.
Right.
And they had a great little example dialogue for this one, too.
Okay.
This time you're Shiv again. You're checking out this awesome jacket, but it's a bit pricey.
Uh-huh.
So you say to the salesperson, this jacket looks great, but it's too expensive. Can you offer a discount?
Okay.
And the salesperson replies, sir, this is the best price. But if you have our membership card, you get 10% off.
Interesting.
So they didn't budge on the price itself,
Right.
but they offered you a way to save if you're a member.
That's a good reminder.
It is always ask about those membership perks.
It's true.
You never know what kind of discounts they might have.
Exactly.
Okay, you've either made your purchase or decided to keep browsing.
Okay.
But before you move on, it's super important to understand the store's exchange and return policies.
Uh-huh. Very important.
You know what happens if something doesn't fit or if you just change your mind.
Especially if it's like a big purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck with something you can't return.
Right.
The podcast highlighted some really useful phrases for this. If you need to bring something back, keep it simple. I'd like to return this item, or I'd like to exchange this item.
Mm-hmm.
Easy and clear.
Right.
And here's a pro tip. Even before you buy something, you can ask, what is your return policy?
That's smart.
Especially for those bigger purchases.
Yeah.
Know your options before you commit.
Absolutely.
And they had another good example this time with Prabha and a dress.
Okay.
So you say, excuse me, I bought this dress yesterday, but it's too big. Can I exchange it for a smaller size?
Right.
And the salesperson says, sure, ma'am. Do you have the receipt?
The classic question.
The classic question. And of course you do. Yes, here it is.
Nice.
And that brings us to one of the most important takeaways from this whole thing.
What's that?
Always, always, always keep your receipts.
It's true.
It's almost always essential for returns or exchanges.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about some of the more practical, nitty-gritty stuff you might encounter in the mall,
All right.
like parking,
Parking.
food court situations.
Hmm.
Of course, gotta eat.
And even using the fitting rooms.
Mm-hmm.
These are things everyone deals with, so having the right phrases ready can make your whole experience so much smoother.
Absolutely.
So let's start with parking.
Okay. Yeah.
In these giant malls, parking can sometimes feel like its own adventure.
Right.
The podcast mentioned a very common question. Do you offer free parking?
Always good to know.
And then if you've spent a certain amount, you might need to ask, how can I validate my parking ticket?
Yeah.
To get that free parking.
Right.
They gave an example with Prabha where she asks, excuse me, I shopped for 5,000 rupees. Is parking free?
Okay.
And the staff member replies, yes, ma'am. Please show your bill at the counter for validation.
So you need that proof of purchase.
Exactly. Hold on to those receipts, folks.
That's true.
All right. Next up, the food court.
Yes.
Because after all that walking and shopping, you're bound to be hungry.
Yeah, we are.
And ordering food is usually pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You just say, I'd like a food item, please.
Whatever you're craving.
Right.
But what if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the choices?
Happens to the best of us.
It does.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for a suggestion.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
You can say something like, what do you recommend?
Mm-hmm.
And in the podcast, Shiv asks, excuse me, what's your best-selling dish?
Okay.
And the waiter suggests, our spicy paneer wrap is very popular.
Sounds delicious.
Right. And Shiv says, great, I'll have one.
Perfect.
So, asking for a recommendation can be a fun way to try something new.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows you're open to their expertise.
Yeah.
Okay, before you commit to buying those clothes you've been looking at,
Uh-huh.
you'll probably want to try them on.
Of course.
That's where the fitting rooms come in.
The trial rooms.
Or trial rooms. Yeah.
Right.
Step one is finding them. Excuse me, where's the fitting room?
It's simple.
And once you're inside, if you need a different size or have any questions, don't hesitate to ask for help.
Right.
Can you suggest something in my size? They had Prabha asking, excuse me, I'd like to try this dress on. Where's the fitting room?
Okay.
Staff member just points and says, right over there, ma'am. And Prabha follows up with a, thank you.
Peace you.
Simple and effective.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, let's touch on safety
Okay.
and how to get assistance if you need it in the mall.
Important.
Hopefully you won't encounter any issues,
Right.
but it's good to know how to interact with security personnel and what to do if you lose something.
Absolutely.
So those security guards are there to help,
Yeah.
to make sure everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience.
Mm-hmm.
So don't hesitate to approach them if you need anything.
Right.
And the podcast suggested a simple greeting like, good afternoon, sir, or good morning, depending on the time of day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do happen to lose something, the key phrase is, I lost my item. Can you help me find it?
That's good.
Like in their example, Prabha says, "Excuse me, I think I lost my wallet in the food court." And the security guard replies, "Please check at the lost and found counter."
Oh, that's good.
And this is a reminder that most malls do have a lost and found. So if you realize something's missing, that's definitely the first place to check.
Yeah, definitely.
So there you have it.
Wow.
We've covered a whole bunch of different situations you might encounter at the mall.
We have.
From getting directions to finding a good deal to even dealing with the unexpected.
Yeah.
And what I think is so valuable about all this is that having these phrases ready in your back pocket can really boost your confidence in handling these everyday situations in English.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Don't just listen to this and think you're good to go.
Right.
You got to practice.
Oh, yeah.
Say these phrases out loud. Try to imagine yourself in those situations.
Like actually picture it.
Exactly. Because mentally rehearsing those conversations can really help solidify them in your mind and make them feel more natural when you need them.
Makes sense.
So as you're going about your day, think about which of these situations might feel the trickiest for you.
Okay.
Maybe it's that bargaining thing or making sure you really understand the return policy.
Right.
Focus on those phrases. Really make them your own.
Yeah.
Because it's all about building that confidence. One conversation at a time.
Awesome.
Well, I think we covered a lot today.
Yeah, I think so too.
Until next time, happy shopping, everyone.
Yeah, happy shopping. Bye. Bye.